Okay, so welcome back all for the afternoon session. In this session, we will have first a keynote talk, then a number of shorter presentations, and then after the coffee break, a second keynote. For the first keynote, it's my pleasure to announce Katharina von Knop. She is a senior project manager for digital trust and trustworthy AI at VDE in Berlin. She's also a member of the board at the Max Planck Academy, and she has been 3 times founder of startups. She's currently CEO of one of those, namely for digital trust analytics, and she also serves as a mentor for the CyberLab startup accelerator of Baden-Württemberg. So here she brings in a slightly different perspective than many of the other talks that we've seen, namely a perspective on how to make your ideas into startups and products. So we are very much looking forward to your talk. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for this very kind introduction, and thank you very, very much for inviting me and having me. I'm waiting for the slides. So I will start with the structure, what I will talk about. First, I will talk about a bit of the team. Then I will continue talking about trust building, so what's happening in our brain. And then I will continue explaining the VDE spec about the trust label we have written at the VDE. And here also a fabulous colleague is here as well, Matthias Wirtz. He is currently working on a VDE spec on neuromorphic computing. And if you know the history of the VDE, we are one of the eldest testing institutes. And now we started being very, very busy developing test systems, methods for trustworthy AI. Probably you're familiar with the EU AI Act. And there I'm leading 2 big projects. One of them is Deploy AI. There we are building hopefully the platform. Of course, it will be the platform for trustworthy AI. And we are building their partly automated process to test AI regarding the trustworthiness of the whole system. But this we are here at a very, very early stage. You already heard that my background is quite vibrant. I started in academics, then joined strategy consulting, and then joined the industry, and now I'm with the VDE. And here a lot of PhDs and postdocs are attending. And if you do have questions regarding your further career step, if you would like to become a founder or join a huge corporation, I would be happy to help you. So please contact me on LinkedIn. I do that for the Max Planck PhDs and postdocs on a honorary basis. So, first of all, it doesn't matter what you do. The most important thing is the team, and the trustworthy AI team at the VDE is really fabulous. And when I started working academically on trust. Trust is a very, very complex emotion, one of the most complex emotions humans do have. And I read lots of definitions and defined one by myself regarding what is digital trust. So here, this is my definition. So digital trust enables us to decide to use a digital solution to make decisions within these systems, to execute these decisions, enable us to dispense a conscious, unconscious risk and chances analysis, to feel substantially safe, expecting that the system will behave with integrity in the correct expected way and will serve in our interest. Trust is always, from a human perspective, highly cultural, fragile, dynamic, situational, and topical and processual. So the variation is very, very high here. For instance, one example, if you are well rested, have a high blood sugar level, and sitting in a nice room, it's a nice room temperature, you will probably build much more easily trust into a system or a human compared to the situation when you had a short night, when you haven't eaten for a long time and all those other things. And in science, we can make a difference between, so trust it's very different. If a human builds trust into an institution, then we are using the term institutional trust, or to a system, then we are talking about system trust and interpersonal trust. So there do exist a lot of various kinds of trust, and this was the reason why I came up with this definition. Why has evolution really developed such a complex emotion like trust? Well, first, in a nutshell, it enables us to skip the unconscious or conscious risk chances analysis. So it really saves energy. This is what we can see when we're using a functional MRT, and also time. Inside organizations, trust generates a lot of value, right? It improves relationships, performance. It facilitates innovation. So when you're working in an environment where you feel emotionally very safe, very trusted, the innovation rate would be definitely much more higher. It improves efficiency, effectivity, results, and successes for the organization. It reduces cost, especially transaction costs, because you don't control that much. And it helps you reducing mistakes. So when people trust the system or trust each other or trust the organization, the number of mistakes are definitely lower, and there are many more values trust really generates. In the global political environment these days, we are living in a world of trust erosion because of this whole global situation, the conflicts, the wars which are going on right now, the life complexities which are really growing, digital innovations and all these things. I've listed them here. I will not read them through all. So, for instance, uncertainties in our data sources, or increase of cyber attacks. There are many, many reasons where we are seeing a substantial erosion of trust. On the other hand side, an intense growing need for more trust. So what is the opposite of trust? It's fear, right? So what happens inside our brain when we are afraid? For instance, I've made this picture in the morning at my hotel. My visual cortex immediately looked in the encyclopedia of the Golden Book of spiders, was searching layer by layer, the shape, the size, the color, but my amygdala immediately reacted and enabled me to leave the bathroom, to close the door, and to call the SWAT team here in Aachen, right? And these are reflexes. And this is the worst enemy of trust, because reflexes are always faster than building trust. Building trust needs mostly a lot of time, especially in these times of uncertainty we are living in these days. Inflation, wars, and all these things. So it's going to be much harder to build trust. But we need it and we love it. Why does the human brain love trust so much? It really saves a lot of energy and also time. What is it here? In a nutshell, I tried to visualize the human decision-making process with a focus on trust. It's a very, very condensed visualization. So what is the current situation we are living in? Well, my mind is like 14 tabs are open, and I have no idea where the music is coming from. This is the sensory input. Then we do have, let's call it filter databases. I know from a neurological point of view this is incorrect, I do know. So the steam brain, the biography, the situation, and especially the psychogram. What we can address with AI systems or digital solutions is the situation in the room we are living in, the UX, UI design, and how a solution appears to us, how easy it is for us to understand in an AI solution or a digital solution. Then, what does our brain? It prioritizes, it does complexity reduction, it compensates information deficits, and it does, very important, the risk chances analysis, mostly unconsciously. Because the brain always thinks about, well, it's a prediction machine. Is the value of trust higher? The benefit of trust is higher than the risk I'm taking. Because when my brain decides to trust, it always decides to take the risk, right? Because it does not do this risk chances analysis. It skips all these control systems. And then we make a decision or don't do it. Here, I try to visualize how can we build trust when we are developing a new business model. I've made this especially for you because, well, here are so many brilliant minds developing really fantastic future ideas, and I really would love to see many of these ideas in future business models. Here, I use the concept of Maslow, the pyramid of needs. I'm sure everybody's familiar with. The first layer we have here, the business model. The business model really has to generate benefits on the real subject level. For instance, problem-solving quality, like providing information, it saves time, ecosystem support, et cetera, et cetera. Then we do have the next layer, which is very important. Correct, non-biased data, which is really an issue these days. Transparency, efficiency, effective processes. Then the next layer, cybersecurity, security, GDPR compliance, norms, machine-readable norms, which we really need, and safety, ethics, and data policy. Then we do have the next layer. Which kind of AI do I use here? Which kind of model do I use? How has a model being trained? Which kind of data? Which kind of test data have I used? What about the validation data? Controllability, reliability. Humans love control. They love to be in the control of the situation. We are humans by design. We like to have a control of the system. This is the reason why we have this super clean UX, UI designs, which we do love. That's the reason why OpenAI really has also this clean user interface and using this absolutistic language. Just only to give us in the situation of control and to be as persuasive as possible, really nudging us to accept the information as trustworthy, and that makes it a bit critical. Then the next layer, reciprocity, consistency. Which kind of decision architectures are you using in your new business model? Relationships, humans love relationships and really being in connection with each other and receiving something for their input. We are humans. And so in a nutshell, the human brain loves labels. Why? Well, there are complexity reductions. It does not need to work that much. But the human brain always just only likes labels when they have really an intense quality, intense impact. So if they really have a substantial meaning, there's a lot of really substantial information being generated based on substantial methods and tests and software analysis we really do need for AI. That we really need more and more really substantial software analyzing training data, analyzing the performance outcomes, et cetera, et cetera. There's really a lot of work needed to be done. And if a label is really strong, is generate the safety and security our brain, and especially we as humans really love, especially in times of uncertainty we do live in these days. Yeah. Yeah, and this has been very, very well studied, especially addressing labels in healthcare and being there more precise labels in medical technology. Because, well, this is relevant for the life of humans, and their labels have been intensively learned, especially when they do have a really, really strong value and are easy to be understood by the people using medtech technologies, and also, and this is still a weak point, the patient. And especially when we will see it when more and more AI solutions will be used in healthcare, image recognition solutions for diagnosis support, therapy support. And yeah. So we at the VDE have developed a label for artificial intelligence solutions, and by purpose, the team has used a visualization which is very, very familiar with the Nutri-Score, because this is a learned behavior, right? And at the top highest level, we look at the 5 values being provided by the AI Act. This is accountability, fairness, privacy, reliability, and transparency. Why have we differentiated between all these 5 different values? For a very good reason. Depends on the use case, how much trust, how much transparency you would like to see in an eye solution. One very strong example, if a patient has stage 4 cancer, which is highly, highly serious, probably the individual needs for privacy in this situation, I'm back in this situation, right? You remember the process, is not that high compared to the value of accountability or reliability, right? It really depends on the use case, which kind of grade some user is really looking for. Just for understanding, A is the best grade someone could receive. So regarding transparency, here the solution is very trustworthy. If you receive a G, there are probably some issues here. And we used here a very, very simple, and was quite a genius idea from the team. It was not my idea. So I'm very lucky to work, really having the opportunity working in a brilliant team, to use a VCIO model. VCIO model, there we are looking at values, criteria, indicators, and observables. The values are transparency, privacy, etc. And then we have the next layer of criteria. And for each criteria, we have identified very specific indicators, and for each indicator, we have defined observables. So this VDE spec, it's an open standard, has no integrated software. We are just looking for what is already just observable. And what is being observable really provides a lot, really a lot of information, also having in mind not every LLM provider, probably all, which are not open source, which are quite few these days, don't want you to look at their machines that deeply, right? And the findings, we assume these findings up. So we come to this grade. We have developed this VDE spec, the trust label. You could Google it. It's an open standard with Bosch, with Siemens, with the TÜV Süd, with SAP, with University of Tübingen, with BASF, the KIT, IREDS Lab, Steinbach Institute, and the Digital Trust Forum. And here are the links. And we already started to work on the version 2, because the technology is developing so fast and we need to move on. We need to improve. The AI Act has been implemented, and now Sebastian Hahnsleben is very, very busy in translating the AI Act in these specific norms. He's holding the chair at ICNCE. And the next stage will be really partly automated analysis regarding trustworthiness. There we are working on in my project at Deploy AI. And here, just a small description, because of presenting this whole trust label would be reading through an Excel sheet, which would be quite boring, especially after lunch. So what do we do here at the trust label? Here we have the criteria. For instance, here is the data origin documented. And then we have the indicator, established, structured, notification, like database, etc. And then we have the observables, right? And we really precisely look what is observable. And this is an open standard. You can Google it. You can look at all these Excel sheets, which are not that massive. And really also from an academic perspective, helps you making good decisions with which kind of AI sim you would like to do your research without paying in euro. It also helps you, it's compliant with an AI Act, but it does not mean that you are fully compliant with the AI Act if you follow our trust label. But it really helps you implementing it. It increases really the user acceptance. It creates customer confidence. The concrete guideline for product development. For instance, if you're thinking about developing your own AI solution, really following this Excel sheet really helps the whole developer team to be here at the first step compliant with the AI Act. Again, it's not a whole compliant. You need to be a bit more to be really compliant with the whole AI Act. Then, of course, you provide the technical support. You make better purchasing decisions, and you will definitely improve your user ratios. There are a few other advantages, especially this established visualization is really an advantage if you are thinking about creating a consumer product out of your academic findings. Yeah. Here are my contact data. And I'm open now for questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very nice talk. Let me start with the first question. Now, you've developed this AI trust label. Suppose that I was part of some startups company that is developing a product. How would we need to go about to get that product or software or project idea labeled and ranked according to this scheme?
Thank you very much. The process is very easy. Just Google VDE spec trust label. Again, this is an open standard that could access the whole standard by your own. And if you're a startup, money is short. So you could do a lot of the work needed to be done by yourself. So what is observable, you could very easily see by yourself which kind of grade do you have. And if you're interested in a certification because you're planning the next capital round, right? Such a trust-building label really would help. Well, the VDE is independent, non-profit, and especially when regarding AI, really trust and security is being needed, especially when you're talking with investors. When you want the certification, we're happy to receive your call. And then me and my colleagues come and we help you implementing it to improve your system. And that's what we do.
Thank you. And this label, what form would it take? Would it show like this early slide where you have basically a traffic light scheme rating you as being A-level trustworthy or E-level? or would it be a certificate pass-fail?
Both, both, both. Yeah, you could put this travel-like system on your website, for instance, and you will also get a certificate, and yeah. And especially when you're a young company in a highly dynamic environment, planning the next capital round would be very, very helpful. Or also, for instance, if you're planning your next big research project, which also includes an AI, and you need to pass the ethical committee, having a trust label certification might help here as well. And again, there's not a lot of research or still needed to be done because the technology is really developing very, very fast.
Thank you. So, are there any other questions from the audience? If you have any, please move to the microphones.
Hello, I'm Amir from University of Twente. I have a question. So, if you want to add a trust label on a human brain, what will be the result? Like from this measurement, how would you measure a human brain as like accountability, fairness, privacy, reliability, and transparency?
I'm sorry, I'm hard hearing. And the acoustic environment for me is here right super, super challenging. Could you please repeat your question?
Yeah, so you introduced trust label for artificial intelligence. I'm wondering I'm wondering if you want to do it for a human, like a human intelligence. How would it be the result?
Oh, you're asking me for a trust label for the human brain?
Yeah, indeed.
A trust label for the human brain. Oh, this is very, this is super hard. If you would like to evaluate a human, look at the behavior, not what other people are saying. So if you would evaluate a human regarding how trustworthy is a person, you need to really seriously evaluate the human behavior. And the trust-building ability of humans really varies based on their first learnings during the first years of their life.
But the question is, does your methodology can be applied on that?
So could your methodology be applied?
Also to human brain?
Also to humans?
Oh, this would be highly interesting. Thank you very much. It was an important question. Sorry, I'm hard hearing. Could it be? Well, we have not tested it yet. Yeah, but what would that mean for society? That would be a very, very complicated question to answer. Also, if you, as a society, as a liberal democracy, would have humans to be labeled as trustworthiness or not, when we do look at the EU AI Act, it probably might be not legal following the EU AI Act, because there you need to collect a lot of individual data, and that would not play in concert with our European values.
So thank you. Let me segue into a related question. If you look at what the AI Act demands in terms of transparency, accountability, fairness for AI applications, does it place a higher burden on AI than it would place on humans?
That's a good question. Well, again, why have we developed this regulation? Why have we humans developed other regulations? Because we like to be in the driver's seat. We like to have the control of systems, especially when they are smarter, more intelligent, have more computing power than we do have. How much computing power has the human brain? The prefrontal cortex? Well, 8 bits. When we are well rested and the blood sugar level is high. We love to have control over systems, and for very good reasons. As liberal democracy, we probably would like to have that much control over humans, right?
Yeah, thank you very much for this answer. There is another question.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. My question is also related to the AI Act. As far as I know, the VDE is also like highly related in the standardization activities. Like I've seen your slide with Mr. Hallensleben on it. Could you tell us a bit like about the standardization process, and now that the AI Act has been accepted by the European Union, if there is already some progress, if we know at what point we can expect the standards to be published? Is there anything on it already?
Thank you very much for this question. And we need to be a bit here more patient regarding the norms. The norms are are in the development process. And also, what does the standardization process really mean following the EU AI Act? At ICNCE, this is the organization which is translating the EU AI Act into European norms. And then we have these mirroring institutions which are translating these European norms to national norms. And they are fighting day and night. And there, really, we need to be here a bit more patient to have really a precise, more security. What does the AI Act really specifically mean? And it will be a learning process. But when you are in science, you are not affected by the EU AI Act, right? And when you are in science, you do have time. And take it, really take it, and you're not directly affected. But we will communicate it as fast as possible, so please stay in touch via LinkedIn, et cetera, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, then let's thank the speaker again. Thank you very much for your nice talk.